Hi everyone, welcome to week 4 of MBA 583, Strategic Planning and Implementation. This week we're going to look at comparing the cooperation among competitors, joint ventures and partnering, and mergers and acquisitions, and how these types of initiatives impact strategies. We're going to look at specific guidelines when we're focused on a market penetration strategy, market development, and product development as well. And then really get into the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. From that, we're going to go ahead and turn our focus to looking at the role of organizational culture and strategic analysis and choice, and then understanding the important political considerations in strategy analysis and choice. So if we look at intensive strategies, we're talking about market penetration strategy, which really looks at how to increase market share for our current products or services through increased efforts in marketing. We're also looking at market development, which involves introducing present products or services into new geographic areas. And then product development strategy. We're trying to increase sales through this strategy by improving or modifying existing products or services. So if we go a little more detail into market penetration guidelines, what we're looking at is that we've determined from our analysis that current markets are not saturated with a particular product or service. And we can look at the usage rate of present customers could be increased. We're also looking at this when the market shares of major competitors have been declining while the total industry sales have been increasing. So we're seeing that as an opportunity. When there's a correlation between dollar sales and dollar marketing expenditures historically has been high, and we see an opportunity for increased economies of scale that provide major competitive advantages. When we consider market development guidelines, what we're looking at are new channels of distribution that are available. We want to make sure that those channels are reliable, inexpensive, and of a good quality, things that we can rely on. We also want to look at market development when our organization is very successful at what it does. We want to look at it when there's new untapped or unsaturated markets, and when the organization has the needed capital and human resources to manage an expansion in operations. We also want to look at when we have an excess in production capacity, and when our industry is becoming global in scope. That's going to give us a good opportunity to go bigger. If we look at the product development guidelines, we're going to go into this when an organization has successful products that are in the maturity stage of the product life cycle, when we are competing in an industry that's characterized by rapid technological developments, and when our major competitors offer better quality products at comparable prices. So the ways that we can achieve these strategies are threefold. We can look at cooperation among competitors. So in the past, we've seen some competitors pair up. So Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin-Robbins ice cream have paired. Or sometimes in the grocery stores, you see something that if you buy a particular laundry soap, then you get a dryer sheet package with it. So looking at that to give people a test market. We can also do a joint venture or partnering. Okay? So we use this a lot when we're going into foreign countries. When McDonald's went to China, they had to partner with an existing company in that country. They couldn't just go in on their own. And a lot of times we don't want to go into an international company on our own. It's better to go in through a joint venture or partner because those partners already have those infrastructure things set up. They already have the supply chains. They know where to get the hamburger buns from. They know where to get the potatoes from for the French fries. They have the truck routes already established and the patterns are there. Or we could look at a merger acquisition. So several years ago, Procter & Gamble sold off maybe 100 of their products, and they went ahead and someone else acquired those. So those are good ways to do it. And so we want to, when we're looking at going in this area, we want to also look at why have mergers and acquisitions failed in the past. When we can look at this, we can see that there were integration difficulties, the evaluation of our target, our goal wasn't correct. We had a large extraordinary debt. We couldn't achieve synergy. There's too much diversification. The managers were overly focused on acquisitions and they took on too large of an acquisition. We can also look at the fact that it was difficult to integrate into different organizational cultures. So if we look way back to the merger between AOL and Time Warner, if you have a visual image in your head of AOL workers, they probably came to work in their flip-flops. I don't think that meetings, if you said we had a 9 o'clock meeting, maybe we'll start at 9:15. And if you think of Time Warner, right? Suit, tie, meetings at 9, start at 9, be at your desk. So you can understand why that merger didn't work. But there are definitely benefits from a merger or acquiring another firm. It can improve the capacity of what we're doing. It can make better use of an existing sales force. It can help us reduce the managerial staff. So when Newell Rubbermaid bought Jarden Consumer Solutions, they needed fewer people. They had duplicates and vice presidents of different areas, so they were able to cut back on that. And so we can increase our profits by, again, decreasing our expenses. It also helps us gain economies of scale, smooths out seasonal trends in sales, can help us with new technology or to gain market share, helps us in entering global markets and to gain pricing. And a lot of times what we want to look at is in this area is if there's a firm that's being a first mover. These are the firms that are out there with the first product, the first, you can think back to who was the first to offer streaming of videos and TV content. Okay. Who was the first to offer resources to old TV shows? Those are the first movers. And so they really are out there because they get the secure access and commitment to the rare resources. They gain new knowledge of critical success factors and issues. They get customer loyalty and commitments by those customers that want to be the first one to have it. Okay. And so if we switch our discussion to the SWOT analysis, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's usually a matrix, so we see it as kind of a square with each of these letters in each of those categories. And what it does is it helps managers develop 4 types of strategies. And we can call this a matching stage, where we know that strengths go with opportunities. So we think of strengths and opportunity strategies. And weakness can go with opportunity, right? A weakness to do better or offer different opportunities for strategies. Strengths can also go with threats, and weaknesses can go with threats, and we can come up with strategies for each of those. So the strengths and opportunity strategies really use our internal strengths to take advantage of external opportunities. Okay? And the weakness opportunity strategies look at improving internal weaknesses by taking advantage of external opportunities. So you can see how those come together. And then strengths with threats, we're using a firm's strengths to avoid or reduce the impact of external threats. So this goes back to what we discussed a couple weeks ago, looking at what's going on in an external environment. What are we scanning that's a threat to our business? Is there another coffee house coming up, a coffee chain that we need to look at? How are we going to use our strengths to keep our customers close to us and reduce the impact of external threats? Weaknesses and threats really are more defensive tactics that are directed at reducing internal weaknesses and avoiding external threats. And so the SWOT matrix is really listing what are our external opportunities and our external threats, and then our internal strengths and weaknesses. And then we match these up to really come up with our strengths and opportunity strategies. If we think about the culture and politics of a strategy choice, strategies that require fewer cultural changes can be more attractive because of the extensive time it takes to make a culture change in an organization. The culture is that when you go into an organization, you get how people dress, how they act. Do they all come in early? Do they all stay late? Some of the organizations I've worked for, they have had a culture that you don't leave before the boss leaves, right? And so when we think of the politics and attach it to a strategic choice, we're looking at how do we look at the valuable time, the organizational objectives, how are we diverting human energy, and all this results in the loss of some valuable employees. We also find that there are political biases and personal preferences that get embedded in strategy choice decisions when we're thinking about culture and politics. So we really have to think of things as a business decision, not personal. Even though it affects people, it's still a business decision, and we need to go forward with that. Well, thanks for a good week 4, and we'll keep going forward. Thank you.